Commission for Monday, April 18th, 2022. It's called to order. Everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We are going to deviate for just a second. As you can see, David Paul is not up here. He has opted to retire when his time was up. And so we want to wish him the best. We want to thank him for his service. He will be sorely missed. He was a real asset to this. And if someone would like to entertain a resolution to acknowledge his work he's done.
So moved. To acknowledge a resolution to congratulate him on his retirement and thank him for his
Right.
service to the community.
Support.
Support? I have a motion from Ms.
From me.
Okay, it's been so long. From Mr. McIntyre, supported by Ms. Roscoe, to support a resolution for Dave Paul. Any discussion?
We will prepare that and have it for you next month to
Yes,
sign.
fine, yeah, we understand that, sure. Okay. Mr. McIntyre,
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Ms. I'll tell you what, Jameson, Ms. Jameson,
Yes.
Mr. Boboade,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick,
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion carried. The one hard name I got right. Okay, and along those lines, at this time, as everyone sees, we have a new person on our commission now, so at this point, I would like to welcome Emery Long to our community of commissioners. He did come from the Zoning Board of Appeals. I know he brings a lot of insight with us. He's got some tough shoes to fill, Mr. Paul's. But Mr. Long, we do welcome you, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Welcome
Thank
aboard.
you.
Yes.
Thank you all. Appreciate the appointment from Mayor McCrate and looking forward to serving our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at that point, we will go back to the regular,
Agenda.
yes, the regular agenda. Thank you. And that would be roll call.
Mr. Boboade,
Present?
Ms. Jemison,
Here.
Ms. Roscoe,
Here.
Mr. Fredericks,
Yes.
Ms. Freitag,
Here.
Mr. Long,
Here?
and I'm present also, McAnally.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Both Mr. Glafelty and Mr. Korova are excused this evening. They both had work conflicts.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is the approval of agenda, but I'm going to ask for approval of an amended agenda. We are going to take item 6, the public hearings, and we are going to move them. We are going to move them after number 8, new business, so that our petitioners don't have to sit here and listen to us go on and on about amendments.
So moved.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Support.
All right, okay.
Before you take action on that, they're just walking in the door right now. I was going to say, if you wanted to move item 8B up, since the applicant is not here, but it looks like they're arriving. Is
So
your
wait a
team
minute,
all
so-
here?
I don't think we need to move it.
Is your team all here for the Abbott Hotel?
Yeah, the Abbott Hotel, yes.
Are you the only one coming?
The owner's supposed to be here too.
Okay,
Well,
okay.
we were doing 8B.
Had a little trouble finding where.
Did you want to move 8B up?
Well, we're going to do, 8B is going to be right after, oh, I see, before the,
The representatives for 8A weren't totally here until just now.
oh, I'm sorry, yes. I was thinking, yes. Why don't we do that?
Okay, why don't we do that, just to let you get
So
settled,
8B, so
we'll take 8B.
we'll take 8B before 8A.
The automatic door let me in, but the main
Right,
door.
that's how we have to
That's why I
have
was
it,
confused that there was nobody around or anything.
yeah.
So we're going to move B above A?
Yes.
Okay, all righty. You agree?
So moved.
Support.
Okay. No discussion? Ms. Jemison?
Yes.
Mr. Bovade?
Yes.
Mrs. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Frederick?
Yes.
Mr. McAnally?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. The amendment is approved. Item 4 is approval of the minutes. Approval of the minutes of the regular Planning Commission meeting held December 20th, 2021.
So moved.
Madam Chairman.
Second.
You first. Motion from Mr. McAnally, supported by Mr. Fredericks, to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Mr. McAnally,
Yes.
Mr. Fredericks,
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe,
Yes.
Ms. Jemison,
Yes.
Mr. Bobade,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Abstain.
Chair votes yes. Minutes are approved. Comments. Next, to comments from the public on non-agenda items. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on anything that's not on our agenda tonight? Seeing no one, we will move right on. And we are going to go down to 7, old business. We have no old business. Item 8 is new business, and we're going to go to item 8B, North Point Condominium. SPR 2022003. And they are requesting approval for a preliminary site condominium plan approval, Vining and Smith Roads. It's going to be the industrial condominium subdivision. And the petitioners are here?
The petitioners from North Point are here. Mr. Kratz is going to be speaking to you, but in a little out of order than normal. Rather than starting with the petitioner, our city attorney, Steve Hitchcock, is here, and he's going to give you a little bit of background. I know your review letters had quite a few comments, and he just wants to update you as to
We don't
where.
get to hear from him a lot.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As you indicated, this is a preliminary approval of condominium documents with regards to North Point. A condominium is really a way to own property and describe the relationship between the owners of the property and their responsibilities with regards to the common elements that are on those properties. So it's an important thing, but it's mostly a legal definition of all of that. As was indicated, you do have both a letter from OHM and from myself that we wrote with comments on it. And I'm happy to tell you that today we had a Zoom meeting with the applicant, in which Carol and OHM and myself were on the phone, and they are in agreement to making corrections for the comments that we made in those letters and on every item. So at this point, I believe we're all set on all those comments. You still, on approval, should make it contingent upon those comments also, because they're going to have to provide us revised documents that contain the changes that were talked about today on the phone. But I believe that we've got concurrence, and they can speak to that too, on all of the items, and we have no disagreements. And so with that, I'll let the applicant make a presentation to you, unless you have any questions of me now or later. I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. The petitioner?
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
If I may, just for clarification, as we follow down this procedure here, we're in the preliminary approval.
Right.
This will go to council,
It's actually a recommendation. for
Recommendation to
approval
council.
To council, correct.
and then from there, it continues down that chain.
Right.
And we'll get the final, which will include all the updates that have been spoken.
And
to
actually, the updates that Mr. Hitchcock just spoke about will be made before they actually go to city council.
Okay, so council
Right.
will see that,
Right, we added that to the recommendation here, you know.
So basically, we're recommending
to council.
To council,
subject to
the things that you
these
just talked
changes
about,
being
the
made.
recommended.
Correct.
Okay.
And at any point during this process, if, let's say, council rejects it, then it comes back through the top, back down.
Correct.
Okay,
So come back to us.
okay, just wanted to point that out.
Yes.
Just, if I can interject too and ask, So will we see those corrections before it comes back to council?
The
For
planning
first time
commission,
around?
the planning commission will not. These changes that are in these letters in your packet today, those will all get made. There, Mr. Kratz is going to explain to you, you know,
But will those
some of those
corrections be
changes.
in there when it goes to council?
Yes,
Yes.
you will
Okay,
see them.
that's a good thing.
You will
Yes.
see them at
Yes,
council.
yes,
Or else-
yes.
The others will
That's the
get a
main
report
thing.
from you afterwards.
That's the main thing.
I'm sorry, go.
Good
Name
evening,
and address.
Commissioners. I'm James Kratz with North Point Development. I assume you all can hear me?
Yes.
Great.
You brought the weather, right?
I brought the weather with me from Kansas City this morning.
Yeah, okay.
So I take the credit or the blame, however you look at it. Thank you for having us again here tonight to talk about our condominium. With me tonight is John Cameron with Dickinson Wright, our attorney. As staff has indicated, we've had a meeting this morning and we talked through all the comments in their letter. We are agreeing to all those changes and we will make those here within the next couple of weeks and we can get on to the council. And as simple as this is, I can talk about it for probably a long period of time and bore us all to death, or I can just answer any questions you might have or an agreement with staff on making the changes. And we're just asking for approval, so a recommendation for approval to City Council.
Do we want to go over the changes? Or-
Are there any in particular that you're,
I don't know, I guess maybe I should open it to the commission and see if they have any questions or comments on that. That'd be the best bet.
I think maybe what Mr. Hitchcock can explain to you, or Lindsay, is possibly that there was one big significant change that needed to be made.
Okay.
There's a lot of little things, but the main thing which affects the whole document was that the proposal, this is being built in phases,
Right.
and the proposed condominium documents proposed to cover only that which was going to be in the first phase. So we were going to be in a situation with the condominium document be approved and recorded, and there'd be these chunks of land both in the industrial and also fronting on Wick Road, which would not be part of the condominium document at this point in time. But the idea was that they proposed to amend the condominium document later to add those when and if there was a tenant for that area. We requested that all that property that's eventually supposed to, through the three phases, be part of this, be added to the condominium document now. You could later amend that condominium documents to further divide those two big parcels that don't have anybody located on them now. But we wanted to make sure that going forward, all of this property was going to be bound by the terms and conditions of the condominium document, which includes obligations for the common areas and the maintenance of the common areas and the sewer and water and storm system lines that belong to the condominium association and not to the city that are in there. So that everybody, all this property would have a responsibility for it. And we wouldn't wake up someday when, let's say, phase 3 wasn't built and somebody walks in with a site plan that they want to do something different on phase 3 and says, well, I'm not part of the condominium. So to prevent that possibility of that happening, even though North Point fully intends at this point in time to build it all out, we've had experiences in this community,
sure.
as all communities have, where projects never went quite as far as was intended. So this way, there won't be any question, and any future buyer, if they're looking at any of this property, knows by looking at the recorded record of this that there is a condominium that overlays this with certain responsibilities for anybody who buys a unit or a lot in that condominium.
That makes sense, really. And you're in agreement with all that?
Yes, we are in agreement with that. We will
Okay.
include all the property within this condominium at this time.
Okay. Any other questions from commissioners? Mr. McAnally?
I do not have,
Pardon me?
I have no questions.
Oh, you have no question? I thought
No.
you had some. Is there anything, other questions or comments? Is there anything in particular in here that anybody saw that they want a little detail on? So basically what you're saying, anything that's outlined here from OHM or anybody where they, or any other area that they say should do this or should do that, part of this agreement will be that they agree to all of the conditions that are in this.
Correct, they'll be incorporated into the agreements,
Right.
and then we'll take those new documents incorporating all this
Right.
to the council.
Right. This is just a little different.
It is, it's
Yeah, it's a little different from what we normally do, right?
You don't see these too often. You saw
No.
it with Ecorse Commons, which ironically, the same developer, but that was only 2 parcels.
Right.
You know, just breaking
So it wasn't
it
a-
up was a
right,
little simpler.
exactly.
This one's a little bit more complicated, so.
Did you have a question, Matt?
Yes, I do, thank you. Through the chair, to the OHM rep, I'm sorry, I didn't get it.
Lindsay,
I'm sorry. There are 12 items listed on your letter, and were you satisfied with that those have been addressed?
Yes. As Mr. Hitchcock said, the only one the big item of concern was the, having all of the property included, but as he said, we discussed it, and they're on board, so everything else was addressed.
Okay, we're good. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from anyone?
Just, I guess, one
Go ahead.
a little comment to the chairs. What Mr. Hitchcock described is actually item 2 on his letter that he sent on April 1st, if you want to read it.
Thank you.
Good.
So where he says, I would prefer, you say, yes, we will.
Yes,
Okay.
we will address all those comments when we make all
Okay.
the changes indicated in that letter.
This is really an exciting project for us.
it is.
When's our chicken place coming?
I
So-
warned you. I
Yes.
warned you.
So we are due to turn over a pad site to them in early August. And they will be submitting their construction drawings, we believe, here within a few weeks, in about 3 to 4 weeks. So, soon,
Soon.
yes.
I'm getting kind of hungry for some chicken, you know. Keep driving by there and it's just an empty field.
Right. Yep, we anticipate starting construction here soon.
I know the weather was, they couldn't do it over the
Right.
winter, right? And the weather is not cooperating right now, so.
Madam Chair, one more question.
Ms. Roscoe?
So when will we see this in front of council? Next week or the following, after, 2 weeks maybe? Just so I have heads
We
up.
probably are looking at, because it's going to take some time, and then I've got to get it to the clerk's office that week before. I'm thinking maybe the 2nd Monday or the 4th Monday in May,
Okay.
Okay.
depending on when it gets turned around.
Fourth Monday, I think, is Labor,
Oh,
it's
that's
Memorial
right,
Day
we get into
weekend, so
Labor
that'll
Day.
be a Tuesday. So, but, okay, thank you.
Okay. We'll keep you posted.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. And
Make sure we get this stuff, the plans revised, so that we can get on that May 2nd meeting.
It'd be you know what it would be? It would be the 2nd Monday in
So
May.
we got, that would be the 9th of May, and then the 4th meeting, the 4th week is the 23rd. It's early this month because
Right.
Yeah.
the first Monday is the 2nd of May, so.
so we probably won't see it in May.
You won't, the city
Right.
council.
Yeah, I know that.
Right.
Hang on a second. Then we'll see the,
You'll see the final, not for a while. They've
Not for a
gotta go
while,
through
right.
Engineering and construction and all that, that's
Right.
later. But if you're shooting for the 9th, we're gonna need it, we're gonna need it in soon. I can talk to you tomorrow about it.
Okay.
Get these dates firmed up, because
Alrighty.
I have to have it to the clerk's office the week before.
Okay.
So,
All right, thank you.
good.
2, 3, 4, 5.
and
yeah,
and
there
since
is
you
5
brought your
Mondays.
attorney all the way here with you, does he have any comments he'd like to make?
Would be the 23rd, 23rd.
Not very often we let an attorney talk.
Could,
Microphone,
Yeah,
please.
microphone, sorry.
We very much appreciate
Yes, I
the
should.
thorough review that was done, and particularly appreciate the opportunity to meet by Zoom to resolve these issues.
Sure.
I think it's going to be a good project, and I'll be turning the documents that I drafted, getting them to city attorney for review, and I think we should be all set.
Good, thank you. Well, having said that, if there's no other questions or comments,
Madam Chairman,
yes.
I'd like to make the motion to recommend to City Council conditional approval of SPR-2022-003 North Point preliminary site plan, including all, I don't know how we're going to include all the comments based on the meeting that the attorneys and the administration had.
So on the front page of the summary
It gives it right
memo,
down here.
I think we worded it that just said, subject to revisions in accordance with comments from the city engineer and attorney prior to review by the city council.
Perfect.
Does that work?
Okay.
That works, that covers everything.
That way it covers comments in their reviews and in their comments.
Okay, I just didn't know it had to be separate, all right.
Okay.
Support.
Support? I have a motion from Mr. McIntyre, supported by, excuse me, Ms. Jemison, to recommend conditional approval of SPR 2022-003 North Point preliminary site condominium plan to the City Council, subject to revisions in accordance with comments from the city engineer and the attorney prior to review by the City Council. Any discussion? Mr. McIntyre?
Yes,
Ms. Jemison?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Boboade?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Fredericks?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. We recommend. Good luck. It keeps getting closer. We're getting excited.
We're excited too. So thank you very much and have a great evening.
Okay, now we'll go back to item A under new business, SPR 2021-012. Is it Avid or Avid? Avid. Avid Hotel. Construction of a 39,000 square foot, 4-story hotel. And the petitioner is here? The petitioner is here? Who's going to speak?
Yeah, I'll be the primary speaker.
That's what I'm saying.
Are you ready for me? Okay.
Please talk into the microphone, and if you do need to move around, take that, you can just take that portable microphone and then it's like.
Oh, okay, yeah. Right, okay. Well, you have the packet, so you've seen the site
We need your
plan.
name and address for the record,
Oh,
please.
God, my name is Bill Jarrett, Jarrett Architecture. I'm the architect for the project.
And your address?
Address?
Please.
108 North Lafayette, South Lyon, Michigan.
Thank you.
Sure.
Go right ahead.
Okay, and I'm here to talk a little bit about the project. I'm sure you've had a chance to review the packet. It's a 4-story Avid Hotel, and it's by IHG as the parent company for this type of project, and they have all kinds of beautiful hotels all over the country you may be aware of. This is they're a more modern, kind of a little more trendy type brand that they're coming out. It's already been built. There's a lot of them being built all over the place. And typically they are 4 stories. And I wanted to just, with your permission, if they could just pass this around with the rendering. I don't know if you actually got a color rendering of it.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what it'll look like. That was all designed, the prototype's all in ephes, but we're changing that, a lot of that to brick. And on the west side, almost the entire west side and the north side of the building will be brick. And then the east sides and the south sides will be ephes with similar colors to that.
How much ephes do we allow there?
As you may know, that this project was it's a very challenging site. It's a pretty small site for what we're putting there, which is not uncommon for these type of hotels. But there's also a drainage easement right up the middle of the site, so we had to work with that. And then the other thing we were dealing with is 2 front yards, both on Middle Belt and then behind, which made it scrunch and everything further. And so these are a few reasons we're asking for a couple of variances. It was only going to work if we could go 4 stories. And 4 stories is the prototype, and 4 stories is pretty much the standard these days for these prototypical hotels. It's just the most efficient, economical way, and they look better for a number of reasons. You still build them out of wood construction generally. So it's really kind of almost a given that you need to go 4 stories, especially with a tighter site like this. It's 103 guest rooms, as you know, and it has a beautiful lobby in it. The lobby area is a area to congregate, and have very up-to-date modern furniture, different places to sit, which will also be, it'll have like almost like a updated coffee house feel to it, breakfast area, and just a real nice gathering space there. We did get the aviation approval for 4 stories on this, and there was a few other items that were brought up in some of the design review comments about either having a wrought iron fence or a brick wall along Middle Belt. We're fine doing that. It'll probably, I'm thinking we're leaning towards a wrought iron fence along there, along Middle Belt. And we're happy to update that. And let me just see if there's anything else I wanted to just touch on. Let's see. The parking for this, in a normal hotel, they do a lot of, if you're out by a freeway or out in the suburbs somewhere, it's normally 1 parking space per guest room. And you might have like another 5 spaces for staff or so. But in an airport situation like this, and your ordinance, I think, kind of reflects that you would normally have a lot of shuttle services and not as many people driving their cars. As a matter of fact, it's probably maybe only 50% a lot of times of the people staying there actually have cars. So it's pretty normal at an airport site to have a lot less parking. And so we're at 81, and your requirement is 89, and that's a variance I suppose we're going to be asking for. And we're justifying that because of the challenge of this site and just the tightness of it and the drainage easement and the requirements from the fire department and everything else. We had to cut back even a little bit more from trying to get the 89. And we really feel like that the parking lot most likely is not going to be full 99.9% of the time, even if the hotel's full. So we feel very confident about that. As you can see, it's gone now, but it's a beautiful design. I hope you like it. And let me see if there's anything else I just wanted to touch on. And a lot of this is self-explanatory, I realize, and I don't want to ramble on too much. I already am. There's the 9 items. We would really love to get approval this evening, and the 9 items that were mentioned there, a couple of those involve some variances, and we think the variances are very well justified, and the items that need to be taken care of, we feel could be easily taken care of, like a little more information on the site lighting, photometric plan, and some other issues that were brought up. We feel they're all easily addressable, and hope that you'll give us approval this evening so those can just be approved administratively. We would really, the owners want to get going on construction. It's springtime, so they're hoping to get in the ground as soon as possible, and we will be submitting for permit shortly after we get approval. And that's about all I have to say. I guess the owner might have a few words to say about just maybe the vibe. I guess there was a suggestion that we should talk about the viability of a hotel in this particular location. It is Middle Belt, maybe lagged behind a little bit from the Merriman, as you know, in some of the other areas for hotels, but I really think that is the area that's going to be up and coming, and you'll probably see more and more of this kind of stuff. And hopefully this will spearhead more, new projects to go up along there. And but if you want, would you like the owner to have a quick word?
It's strictly up to him.
Viability of the hotel?
If he'd like to come and speak to us, it's fine.
Okay.
It's up to him.
Yeah, hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ajit Patel, and my address is 16922 Glenmore Drive, Northville, Michigan. I did send out a slide deck, but that was probably later in the day, but, I'm just gonna touch on a few things that's highlighted in the presentation. We are really excited about this project. There's 2 other IHG properties, and it's doing very well, which is the Holiday Inn and the Holiday Inn Express. They're exceeding expectations, and we expect similar or maybe even better performance from this hotel. We were talking about parking lot, so most of our guests will not have a car. They'll just be stranded customers or customers that have an early morning flight or late flight. And the average stay will be maybe 1 or 2 days. So we'll just be catering mostly to the transient customers. We will have a shuttle service that's gonna drop off, passengers from the airport. And our checkout time will be 11, so, by the time the employees roll in, most of the employees roll in, most of the guests will be gone by that time. As you guys all are aware, the passenger volume is picking up. 2021 was 67% higher than 2020, and 2022 is even 65% higher than 21. So, in 2022 and 2023, I think we're gonna pick up to where we left off in 19. The other hotel features is the rate's gonna be around 110 when we start, and when we stabilize, it's gonna move to about 125, 135 per night, which is consistent with the other upper mid-scale properties. We will have, cameras and ample lighting to make sure the employee safety and guest safety is not compromised. So just a little bit about our company. We have like 12 hotels up and running. Some of them is Radisson in Urbana-Champaign, Holiday Inn Express in Columbia City, Avid Hotel we are building in Fort Wayne, and it's going to be up and running within a month. It's going to be very similar to the one we are making here. Also, we have Wyndham Garden in Warsaw, Ramada in Lansing, Comfort Inn in Michigan City, and another Ramada in Michigan, Lansing, Michigan. And we have built 3 hotels from ground up, including Holiday Inn Express in Columbia City, Comfort Inn in Plymouth, Indiana, and Avid Hotel in Fort Wayne. We have the funding is secure, so we are ready to start on the project. We have $4 million of cash liquidity immediately to start the project. And we are very excited. This is going to bring probably 15 to 20 jobs to this area. And, it's near to, as Bill said, Michigan, Middle Belt is lagging a little bit, but, we got the new gas station right there. That was constructed a couple years ago. There's a couple of restaurants, McDonald's, and car rental companies are just across the street, and we think this is a very good location. And thank you. That's all the comments I have.
Thank you. Carol, did you have anything to say before we?
Just that there's a couple things in here that
Right.
you will need to,
Right.
we need a little bit further information on. One is, a little bit more explanation on the parking demand. The original plan that came in had 103 spaces, and they're now down to 81. So just what happened in terms of, the market study that can explain that. And then some explanation too, you will have to make a determination on the payment in lieu of construction of the sidewalk.
Right.
For Hyde Park. It is a unique site with 3 frontages, and that Hyde Park frontage is pretty unique, that it's a street that really probably will never really be developed. It's got,
Right.
with that industrial property behind it, it could be developed, but possibly,
Right, yeah, probably.
possibly more of a, with some kind of industrial park or something. It could be a side
well-
emergency access or something like that. We don't know. We haven't planned out the whole area, so.
I will open up to commissioners. Any questions? Mr. McAnally?
If we could, Tisher, so What was your final count on the parking? Was it 89 or 81?
81. Yep.
Okay,
We had it at 89. This came from my engineer, but he, due to the fire department, had some additional, just to get it, they wanted like additional turning radiuses, and it was just getting too tight, and so we ended up having to lose a few more parking spaces after the fire department review, fire marshal's review.
And that's
Which
why
is
we
understandable,
question
which
the,
is, yeah.
yeah,
it's
that's why we,
understandable.
because we're gonna need some supporting documentation for the variance, they're gonna need to show something. So the fact that it was a redesign based on, being able to fit everything on the site, that prompted the reduction, as opposed to, we wanna make sure that the demand, that the parking demand, and this could end up being more of a discussion for the Board of Appeals. Mr. Frederick will be part of that, but we're going to want to see some supporting information, just in terms of parking generation, on hotels in general, whatever you guys use. That at one point, and sometimes we see hotels come in that possibly want more parking because they think they may be able to do park and fly. And initially, when it came in, we wondered if that was the reason, and then, oh, well, you've got to redesign, you can't do park and fly without special land use approval anyway. It's not really encouraged because we have park and fly, or we have long-term parking lots.
Right.
So, but it's just, maybe providing the planning commission with a little bit more reason, just that, not that the fire chief made you widen things out. And like, well, if you planned this for 103 spaces, do you need 103 spaces to service? Because you haven't changed the size of your building or your number of rooms. So.
I guess so you want me to just talk about why
We want to make sure that your parking is going to be adequate.
Yeah.
Because you're asking for a variance, and you came in asking for 103, but you didn't reduce the size of your building or your number of rooms, but now you're telling us that 81 is going to be okay.
Yeah.
And we just want to make sure it
Sounds
wasn't
like
just to
you
make
want to
sure that
address that.
it fit.
I just want to say something. So 103 was the requirement by IAG, so that was their requirement. It was not the city requirement.
No.
And so, and that's because that's just their general requirement. They didn't say that this
Okay.
is the airport location and all that. So, and as I said, we're gonna have probably, we don't even probably need 81, but
Okay.
we need to be at so we are at a good balance between the city and, because most of our customers will, and we're not planning on doing park and fly.
Right.
Most of our customers will just be like coming in, hey, I missed my flight, or, that type of things.
So this was their general requirement, but the fact that this is a unique site, being that it's an airport hotel, it's less, because so many people will be using shuttles. There you go, there's your answer. Put that on your, that'll go on your BZA
We had to
application.
receive a waiver from IHG on this too.
Okay,
in order to
that'll be
have
part of your
less
BZA
park.
application.
That was one of the reasons for our delays. That took a little while to get that done through them, but they understood that we did not need as many parking spaces because we're by an airport. So they
Right.
did give us that waiver.
Well, there's a reason. Thank you.
so you did say no park and fly, your guests are coming there, staying, and leaving.
Yeah, right.
Okay, and as far as the,
There's also, just one more thing is that there's I think it's called US Park, which is right.
Right.
there,
Right.
so maybe not even half a mile, it's
Yep.
maybe 1 block. So, that will also help, if like somebody needs to park, we'll just direct them, hey, you better park there because it's gonna cost you more. Even if you, we're not catering to that, but, you don't wanna do that, you know what I'm saying? So, it's more economical for somebody to park at US Park or at the airport parking than pay $99 or $150 for one hotel room, just so they can park for a day.
understood,
People actually do that.
Right. So you don't anticipate people coming and parking in your lot, coming inside with their luggage to catch the shuttle to go to the airport?
I think, well, I'm not gonna say it's not gonna happen, but it's gonna be very less. Because if they need to go out of town for 2 days or 3 days, they'd rather park at the airport. Or
probably
they'd rather
security.
park at US Park or
Yeah.
some other parking facility.
If you'd have security or someone that would kind of monitor that.
Well, we don't have cameras, yeah. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, there's always, I think there's parking police and everything also as well, so. And when the guests come in, and this is almost at any hotel, when the guests come in, they ask, do you have a vehicle and what's your license plate number and all that, so.
Okay.
So we're gonna have, we'll try to keep it as tight as possible.
Yes, sir. The only other comment I had, Madam Chairman, was as far as the sidewalk on Hyde Park, I don't think we need it. I don't really foresee that being a big walking area. I think there was the other one where it was talking about the dumpster on the front yard. Well, Hyde Park's the front yard, same logic. Where are you gonna put it? You're not gonna put it on Middle Belt side. So I have no issue with that either. That's all I have. Thank you.
What did you have the EFS deal? Was there something about EFS?
No, I just said it didn't matter.
Oh, gotcha, okay. Any other questions? Melissa?
Through the
Madam
chair,
Chair.
Carol, do we have any history of what the parking lots are like for the other hotels? Do you know if anyone has done any kind of study, if they have any kind of, or is it just kind of guesswork?
In terms of numbers,
Yep.
or in terms of numbers, right now, because of the latest with COVID, it's probably hard to tell. You know, they've been underutilized right now. So I think, again, they probably, we rely, and when it does come for the variance, we do rely on the applicant making that argument that, you know, why they don't need that much parking. And it is legit, we hear it all the time with, you know, because shuttle service will be used, it is an airport community, it's not gonna be necessarily people coming from around the area and, you know, driving in, then visiting the area and then leaving. So,
Okay, yeah, because I know on our paperwork, it said something regarding supporting documentation for the demand for parking, which,
right, and that was really all that we were looking for, and they explained it.
Just
that
the
we
discussion.
wondered, where did the 103 come from in the first place? And it makes perfect sense. We sort of suspected that might have been it, that it was, you know, a franchise, you know, the hotel's standard, and once realized, well, wait a second, or that they possibly did want to do park and fly and didn't know that whole part, which park and fly is a special land use. It is, you know, it's site by site, and, you know, you guys know all about that. We just passed some ordinance amendments. One of the things that, and Mr. Hitchcock actually was very helpful in those amendments, and, you know, I keep hearing, you know, safety and security, and the police department, you know, does review all of our site plans, and there are some good standards that Mr. Hitchcock wrote for that park and fly ordinance, and I'm wondering if, even though this is not going to be park and fly, there still are going to be cars parked there, that perhaps we do want to maybe have the applicant work with the police department, maybe as part of the variance process, work with the police department to maybe implement some of those security measures that we put in that ordinance to assure that there are cameras, that there is security fencing, just in case that there is a security issue. That may be, you could add it to your motion. It's something that's kind of going through my head right now when the variance requests come in, and as Mr. Frederick knows, the board does have that ability to put conditions on variances, and this may be something appropriate to maybe work with our police department on some of those additional standards for the parking.
you know, one of the things that I've seen is just a thought for the petitioner. I know you said you have cameras and things like that, but I do know that there are some municipalities, they actually mark tires to see how long they've been there if they haven't moved. So that might be something, if you think your parking lot is getting fuller than it should be, that might be something you want to think about and add to your practice there, just to deter that and have your tow signs out there. Because if you're near a parking lot, it's a possibility they may see that as an option.
Yep.
Just a thought.
No, good point.
I'm done, thank you.
What's that? Mr.
Yes,
Long, did you have?
Yes, Madam Chair, that was going to be my suggestion also, because we are having an issue with park and fly at some of our other location hotels around the area. But parking placards for your guests would be something that could be utilized also. For when they register in, they have a parking placard to stick on a mirror or windshield or something to let them know we are a guest here, and if you don't have a placard, you're subject to citation in towing after so long.
Good point.
You all set, Ms. Long?
Yes, thank you.
Madam Chairman, through Chair, have the issues in the OHM letter regarding your lighting been addressed yet? There were 4 comments.
What was it? Regarding the what?
Your lighting plan,
Oh, the photometric. I think that's what he was referring to, the
That's-
lighting. Yeah, we provided a photometric, and it was a type of photometric that was based on, like, it was like more of a different, it was like a shade thing. We had it labeled and everything with a number of foot candles. I don't know if you saw it on there. And we met the ordinances and everything, but the reviewer wanted more of a detailed photometric, which actually is more of a grid thing, and it has, you probably have seen those too, where it has the foot candles.
which are very common in our
Site.
plans.
So he's asking for one of those to just
Is she?
confirm that the lighting works, and we're happy to provide that. But we did provide a photometric. It didn't say specifically what type of photometric initially. But we can certainly provide a photometric to confirm what we have. And if we need to make a few adjustments with the lighting, we can, if needed. But we feel we meet things very closely with what we were showing there. But I can understand why he wanted a little more detail, just to confirm that.
Through Chair, was that satisfactory to the need of the administration and OHM?
There you go.
Yes, it's, as we'll, review it before final submission, so.
Okay, I just didn't want it to be a hang-up, and we didn't know it.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Definitely resolvable. There's a lot of changes,
Yeah.
piddly changes that have to be made anyway. That's kind of a bigger one. That's what we had it stand out as a condition.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Frederick.
Just a couple of questions. First one would be, through the chair, to the city engineer. Item 4 on the lighting is if it abuts a residential property, to be 14 feet, not 25?
Correct.
Has that been addressed? Like that corner of that?
Technically, the standards say residential zone, which it is not zoned residential. So we would just ask that they kind of meet us halfway, kind of lower them from the maximum height to something maybe 20 feet or even lower, at least in that area next to the adjacent property.
I think we were figuring 15-foot poles, actually, so. Yeah. So we can certainly meet that, no problem, yeah.
And just to clarify for the
And
city.
we'll make sure we call that out in more detail.
Carol, to the chair, the resident back there in the southeast corner, they were given a letter about this meeting tonight, correct?
Not tonight, they will on the Board of Appeals meeting. They had been inquiring about this. At one point, I don't know if you were negotiating with that property owner, they have been in several times about the development, so they certainly are aware of it.
Okay.
And they'll definitely get a notice on these variance requests, so.
Okay. Now, the next question is for the petitioner. So you mentioned shuttle van. Is that hotel going to have its own shuttle van, or are you relying on a different service?
That hasn't been finalized yet, but we are talking with like a shared shuttle services, like IAG. Some of the IAG might have shared services, and we can also keep our own, so that hasn't been finalized yet, to be honest with you, but we have been in contact with them.
Because I definitely see where the shuttle van with passengers to and from the terminal does fix your problem with parking. I mean, that's obvious, but next question. Is in your parking lot, with the way things are headed, is there going to be any type of battery electric vehicle charging stations for your guests?
I don't think we called it out, but yeah, that's.
It's just a thought, because it's definitely headed
I
that
know that's
way.
going to become more the standard as we move into electric cars, no doubt about it.
Well, I'm sure if people own one, they're going to look at where they can charge it overnight while they're sleeping, not to be hassled with getting in the car and leaving the next day. You might want to include that, or it's just a suggestion.
Yeah.
It's, not a condition or nothing like that.
Good point, yeah.
I suppose it's something that could be added at a future date if there becomes
I
a
think the
demand
only,
for it.
I think what he's talking about, only thing is that if your parking space is this much, and then because of the electricity, you need 3 more feet, for example, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how they do
That
it.
could be in the setback line, I think the charger itself probably could be. Yeah.
I know, like, for instance, Cadillac says in 3 years, everything will be electric for them. So,
Yeah,
I mean, you don't want somebody to say like, oh, well, here's a hotel, but no, we can't stay there.
yeah.
That's all I'm saying. All right, thank you.
Good point, yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Anybody else? No? Okay, so have we ironed out all of the variants and so forth? Are you in agreement with the payment in lieu of the sidewalk on Hildebrand?
Hyde Park?
Hyde Park, I'm sorry. Yeah, with the-
The statement about the sidewalk, is that right?
Yeah, on,
Are you familiar with that, that if we don't put the sidewalk in, there's a charge of like, was it
$8,000.
$8,904, I think it is,
that you'll have to pay,
in lieu of a sidewalk.
which is approximate cost of the sidewalk, more or less, yeah, is what they're saying. So,
Yeah. We're just saying it's not necessarily necessary on that part.
I think they're making the determination it'd be better to have it waived and pay the payment in lieu of construction, since it's really not necessary over there. Is that correct?
Pardon
Is
me?
that right? You're saying really it's not needed over there, that you prefer to have the payment in lieu of construction of sidewalk as opposed to it being installed?
Right.
Right.
Isn't there some form of inferred liability if you have a sidewalk that you put in front of your property, if you don't maintain it?
Well, we do have an ordinance that requires budding property owner to maintain a sidewalk, so we can, if they don't repair it before they would charge them. Most sidewalks are built in the right-of-way, so from a liability point of view, it's more the municipality's potential liability, because it's not on private property. But there is a responsibility to maintain it.
Again, you'd probably be better off.
Yeah.
With the lieu?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're probably better off with paying in lieu of building the sidewalk.
Right, right. Yeah.
But I mean, you can look into it.
And that's only on the Hyde Park side, that's not on.
It's on Hyde Park,
Right.
only Hyde Park, yes. And what else did we have here? Do we need a commitment now on whether they're going to do wrought iron or block?
I think we can probably work that out administratively. Do you think?
So it's going to be either or, right? Okay.
Either or a mix of both. Brick columns with wrought iron in between, we've seen that, I think, up the road. Yeah, we'll let the landscape architects get creative.
Very good.
So I don't think we have anything else to iron out, do we?
Nope, I think you caught them all.
Okay.
So a
Yeah,
motion would be in
sure.
order. I'm sorry. Did you have a question, Mr.?
Well, Madam Chair, I do have one question on.
Oh, I'm
the-
sorry, go ahead.
On the personal property taxes paid, that wasn't available or non-applicable. Should that be addressed to make sure there are any arrears or anything with the personal property, or?
There's nothing on the site, so there wouldn't be personal property at this point. So the real
But the
property.
land, the real property.
Right, yep. Once something gets built, then personal property taxes are assessed. So, yep.
Yes, the person, real property.
Okay, yes, okay.
Okay. All righty.
Thank you.
A motion is in order, gentlemen, ladies.
Madam Chairman,
Mr. McAnally?
I'll make a motion to approve site plan for SPR 2021-012 Avid Hotel at 10077 Middlebelt Road, subject to the 9 items listed on page 4 of the planning summary report.
Did we also, I want to add something about security or something?
I didn't know if that was going to be part of
Do we want to make that part of, as far as
We'll pick
park and
that
fly?
up at BZA, since it goes hand in
Yeah,
hand
I
with the
thought that was
parking
BZA.
variance.
Oh,
You know,
BZA,
make sure
okay.
that the parking
I just wanted to
lot
make sure we
lies
had everything
secure.
covered here.
And I'd like Mr. Long's suggestion too about the placards for the guests, that will really help our ordinance department. It was a great suggestion. So we'll pick those up as part of the variances.
Okay. Motion made.
Motion was made, second.
Support.
Support? Excuse me. Motion, Mr. McAnally, supported by Ms. Roscoe. Ms. Roscoe? I tell you, I'm tired. Okay. To recommend approval of site plan SPR 2021-012 Avid Hotel at 10077 Middlebelt, subject to the 9 items listed on page 4 and 5 of the planner's report dated April 13th, 2022. Discussion? Mr. McAnally?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Frederick?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Ms. Jemison?
Yes.
Mr. Boblade?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, site plan is approved. Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now we go to the other one. Oh, sorry, yours. Okay, now we're going to go back up to number 6, which is public hearing. And that's for TA 2022001, zoning ordinance text amendments, multiple family housing. Do we want to take them each by themselves?
You know, we might as well, they're all pertaining to multiple family
Okay,
housing.
since this is a public hearing, should I open that portion first?
Yes, you shall, you shall.
Okay. Okay, we'll open that portion of the meeting. If anyone here wishes to speak on it, please raise your hand. And I don't see anybody wanting to raise their hand. So we will close that portion of the meeting,
Thank you.
and we will turn it over to, we are turning it over to our esteemed attorney.
Is it? I'm not the attorney on the city planner, but.
Oh, I thought he was going to do it. You're doing it?
No, I'm going to do
Our
it.
esteemed.
We save the complicated ones for him. This
I see.
one is really simple.
He did very well, too.
As many of you know, I think a lot of you went through redevelopment ready best practices training a few years ago, back when we got going with this. We are getting so close to certification, and our goal is in the next few months to have that certification. It's going to open us up for opportunities for grants and other incentives and some other things that are really, really going to help us in the realm of economic development. One of the things that happens is that there's all these levels of things that the MEDC reviews as part of, you know, the way you're set up. And we did very well in many things. A lot of that was due to the help of our consultants that we've had for years, particularly LSL Planning, which is no longer. However, we still retain those consultants in different capacities. And Brad Strader over at MKSK, and Carmen Aventini at CIB Planning, and Kathleen Duffy, who's over at the Smith Group, who works on our ordinance. Many of these things that they've helped the MEDC with are things that were already in the Romulus ordinances and many of our practices. So we scored very, very high in a lot of those areas, but there were a few things that needed to be tweaked. One of the big things outside of the ordinance that we're working on are just some of our development processes and having our guidelines and things on the website. So we're real close to finishing that off. And then last but not least is this ordinance, the zoning ordinance. And multiple family, which is Article 4 in our ordinance, we don't see much multiple family, but you're going to be. We've got some developments coming in, and we're going to be seeing it, so the timing is really good. But the one thing the MEDC picked up is that we just use the word multiple family. We use 2-family, duplexes, and multiple family. And really, all they wanted us to do was get some better words and describe those. Next month, when you see Gateway come in, you're going to see things called 4-plexes and 5-plexes and 6-plexes. Those words aren't in our ordinance now, but they're here, and you're seeing it in a development. Duplexes, we typically think of them as 2 buildings together with 2 front doors, but they can be on top of each other, and that's called a stacked flat. So that's now in there. So really, that's all this ordinance is doing, is adding some words that describe multiple family, and then definitions that go along with it. And that being said, this is what we need to do to get us certified. So if we can get this tonight moved on to city council, we then intend to come back to you with some other things that we're gonna need your discussion on. You keep hearing about tiny homes out there.
Yes.
And I get calls occasionally, nobody really serious about it. We do have a mechanism right now to handle those through your PDA. You know, that, we've got that in our ordinance right now. We haven't seen a PDA, except, again, Gateway's back at us, but an existing development. We haven't seen a new one in a while. But if somebody did want to come in today and do that kind of development, we could run it through, you know, that zoning tool that we have in the ordinance.
Right.
However, we would like to get the ordinance a little bit more into the modern age, or this current age of some different type of housing. Some housing, some of you I know went to some of the MAP sessions, and you heard about, you know, accessory dwellings and turning those into some kind of livable space. And those are things that, you know, some say yes, some say no. It's worth a discussion. And that kind of thing, we're hoping maybe this summer, you know, when we maybe don't have as much development stuff, I don't know if that's gonna happen or not, but to bring some of those questions to you that will then just clean up our ordinance a little bit further, but we definitely need direction on.
Right.
This stuff is easy. These are just adding words, just so, again, so we can meet these criteria for the redevelopment ready qualifications. And then we'll bring you some bigger stuff later on.
Is micro the same as tiny houses?
Yeah, no, it's efficiencies, and it's another, they don't use the word efficiency anymore. The more modern term is this micro unit. And the square footage has stayed the same. We're not touching that right now. But we do want to talk to you about touching it maybe later on when we do talk about tiny houses.
I was gonna say, I can't believe it's not the same thing.
It's just the same word as efficiency. Again, it's the way, it's marketing. It's what they're using right now, you know, different wording, and it's a word they like, so we said, sure, we'll throw it in.
So micro would refer to like one room.
Like an efficient, same as an efficiency,
Okay.
same thing. Yep, that everything's in one room.
Then what's the definition of tiny?
Of tiny, a small house, it could be a single-family house. It's
Okay.
not necessarily an apartment. Efficiency is more for the apartments, multiple family.
I guess
Tiny
I'm thinking
home-
of these people that are taking shipping containers and turning them into homes.
Well, that's,
Where's that gonna fall
we-
in?
you're going to talk about that later on. We have had, we were real close to actually bringing you one right before COVID. It was a mixed-use development up across from Amazon over in that area. Somebody had, it was the people that
Right,
did
yeah,
the
on
shipping,
Ecorse
the
Road.
container place downtown, and they actually took us down there to look at it. And it would have been a mixed-use development with some retail and then, you know, some apartments, but, and we were struggling. The building department really was starting to get going on the whole construction, the whole code, you know, that aspect of it. So that discussion will certainly involve the building department being here and talking to you about that and their thoughts on it. Haven't had any calls lately about it, but it is you know, it's one of the things that's out there. And again, we've got to get educated on it and then share it with you guys and then get your thoughts on it. So it's that kind of stuff. There is, MAP is offering a housing summit in May. I'm going to have Kayla get it out to you guys. I think you might have gotten it in that last round, but you know,
think
we
I
had
saw
some
something.
earlier stuff. It's in Lansing. It is being held live, but it might be a good one if anybody can go to it, just to learn about
It's
some of
in
these
Lansing.
different.
Is it in Lansing?
It's in Lansing.
I saw it, yeah.
Yep. I think it's middle of May, on a Wednesday, maybe the 19th. We'll send it out to you tomorrow, if anybody's interested. So, could be something that you end up with these amendments and that's it. If you don't want to touch the rest of the stuff, that's fine. But there's a bunch of other stuff out there that we need to, in our spare time, when we're not working on development proposals, but we do, because we are going to be, you know, getting some. The people right now that are currently working with the ordinance are finding it fine and not asking for anything beyond. Like I said, some of the inquiries I get are inquiries, and nobody real serious yet, but I'm suspecting now that things are starting to get back to normal.
Right.
You know, we've got a lot of business coming here, and people, we need workforce housing, people want to live close to where they work. So, some infill development here and there.
The only comment I had was, as I started through this pack and started reading everything, I kept saying, well, wonder what that means, wonder what that means. So definitions fall way in the back.
Way in the back, right. So they're in order right now where we looked at both the multiple family district, which is Article 4, the central business district, where the central business district allows, a mix of commercial and residential. And that's an area where, once we do start talking about it, the DDA, Mary Drury will be here to talk to you about what she's seeing in the CBD and what could help there. And then Article 11 are use standards. That gets into the specifics of multiple family and single family units for that matter. And then Article 24 are the definitions of all these, and they're in that last section. We pulled them apart from an ordinance number standpoint, more for formatting and just for organization.
I guess that was my question. Does it matter where they fall? Could they
Yep.
fall ahead of the rest of it?
They're gonna go into the ordinance as it is. The ordinance right now, I don't know if any of you use the ordinance, other than the paper version, if you go to the website. All of these ordinances and rezonings that we've dealt with are all as separate documents that look like this, the format
gotcha.
that you're seeing. We're getting it codified, and every time we're ready to get it codified, we get a new one. So we tell the Smith Group, wait, we've got one more coming, and let's just get this thing codified and get a new big book. So that's why it is, it's format for, you'll see it on the website is all together, and that's why we're combining it under a title called multiple family. So it's hitting these 4 different articles of the zoning ordinance. And definitions is at the end. It's Article 24, and that's at the end.
Okay. That's all I have.
Madam Chair,
Yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Long.
I do have a question in regards to these ordinances. Does any of this cover B&Bs?
No, that's a commercial use. That we put that in a commercial use. But again, the Airbnbs is something, short-term rentals is a big thing in a lot of places. And that's one of the things on the list when we open this all up. But that's not addressing, anything here. Most of those you see in single family. The
Right,
Airbnbs
yeah.
you see in single family homes. We have a unique use here, the crash pads,
Right,
which
yeah.
right now are not in our ordinance anywhere.
Because I had one near me, a crash pad, and no issues with it or anything, but I just
Right.
never knew if they were in compliance or whatever. Oh, you had something to say on that?
Yeah. There's been a lot of proposed legislation that hasn't gone anywhere to try to prevent communities from banning Airbnb rentals of a residential, single-family house. But right now, you can still prohibit those if you want to, and you got to be careful about allowing those in something like a subdivision where somebody wants to rent out their house on a 2-day basis or whatever, because you can get people that want to rent them, if you got a pool and et cetera, they want to use it as a party house, which would drive the neighbors nuts, obviously. So, but there's been a lot of pressure by the Airbnbs and rental entities that are promoting these to try to get legislation in communities that would make it more amenable to being able to do that at various sites. So I don't know where that's going to end up. I think there's probably at least 3 times in the last few years it's been introduced, but it's never been passed by our legislature. So as it is right now, you still can control it by your zoning ordinance as to whether you want it or don't want it or where you would want it. Some cases where you get some house that's really out of place in what has grown into a commercial area might be appropriate to be able to have it there. So,
Because of that, it's one of the reasons that we haven't touched the crash pads yet. And I don't know if you guys got into it when you did the rental ordinance. In working with the building department, the crash pad situation, as you said, they haven't been a problem. In fact, sometimes they tend to be some of the nicer, kept up, and you don't really even know there's people there. We find a lot of the people that own them are airlines personnel. They have a little group of people that they rent to, and it's, you know, they're on the same kind of schedule. They fly the same thing from week to week to week, and so it's a very regulated thing, and we just haven't had any problems with them. So we've, you know, we talked about it a little bit when you guys were working on that rental ordinance, decided not to really touch it, and then with the short-term rentals not really being anything concrete on it yet, just haven't had a need to do anything with it.
Yeah, 'cause like I say, I know I had one near me for years and no problem at all.
Yeah, that's just what we hear, so see, you're more evidence. But, you know, good question.
Are you looking for a motion?
Yes, the action tonight would be to make a recommendation to the city council.
I thought we were going to review these
the,
or something first.
yep, this is it.
Everybody
It's,
read
To
Right.
adopt, a recommendation to adopt these.
Yep, the very last sentence of my front memo, it says, if you find the amendments acceptable, or a motion to recommend approval to the city council would be in order.
Right.
So I
Ms.
probably
Jefferson
should have
has a
bolded
question.
that.
Ms. Jamison has a question before we go.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, speaking of rentals, do we have any type of ordinance that restricts the amount of rentals in a particular unit? Let's say these sixplexes or the fiveplexes or fourplexes. I'm asking because, one, with that coming to the city, I do know that in Wayne in particular, there is one that's on Wayne Road right by their library. There are two owners that own almost that entire building, and they're renting them out. So I had a client that was looking to purchase one of those, and his mortgage was declined because of the percentage that was actually owned by not enough people. So they're trying to prevent that, and actually it does cause problem with mortgages. So in that, I don't know if there's something in our ordinance or something that could be in their bylaws that would restrict the amount of those units that are rentals, because that is going to cause a problem with resale.
So
And we don't
those-
want those to become just apartments, because technically if you get somebody that buys them and they decide to start renting them all out, then it's really not something
Well, you
that...
sometimes see that in condominiums, where there's some ownership and some rentals. And that can be controlled by the condominium documents when it was set up. But if they don't prohibit it, and you don't have enough owners that want to amend the condominium documents to limit it, you definitely in a condo could end up with more rentals than owner occupancies. Yes.
And that's going to become a problem, because then you have these units, and unfortunately, it's not always, but sometimes the landlords become slumlords, and they don't maintain the properties, and the tenants are not owners, so they don't maintain them either. And then that's something that we don't necessarily want to see happen in Romulus, whereas I've seen it happen in other areas where that wasn't something that was foresaw, so.
It's a good question from a zoning standpoint. Glad you're here. So say we get a project in. It's condominiums, it's a multiple family condominium development, and they're gonna have a master deed, they're gonna have all of that. Could there be a requirement in the ordinance that says for ownership, as opposed to rental units, you're doing multiple family, but this is gonna be ownership, only a certain percent of them could be rental units, just like what you're saying does happen in their master deed bylaws, whatever the correct document is where this stipulation would be, where it's normally regulated. Could you go to a higher level and regulate it through zoning? I've never seen it that way. Multiple family has always been either, apartments, or we tend to encourage ownership. The people that we have
Right, yeah.
talked to that have come in that want to do that type of multiple family development, we always say, we love, the ownership, as opposed to rentals, but I don't know legally if you can do that.
I think you could probably do it if at the time that the condominium document was being created, the limitations were put in there as to what they were trying to accomplish, yeah.
So it would be more through the documents that go along with the condominium?
Right, so everybody
Yeah.
buying it knows
What they're
when they
getting.
buy it, that these are the rules.
Okay.
So in order to keep that percentage, how would you draw up that document? When one person sells, that mean another one can be on the wait list or something, or how does that?
Yeah, if it, for example, said 50%, and when you moved in, bought your unit, there was already 50% of them rented, you wouldn't be able to rent yours until somebody, a renter
sold their
moved out or
unit,
sold out.
Or a
yeah.
renter sold, and,
Right.
or owner sold enough to another owner, then you would move up the wait list to say, well, you can
Yeah.
rent now.
What if a project came in that was for apartments, and as part of their review, they said, no, we don't want apartments, we want these to be condominiums and owned? Would they have that authority, or would?
No, I mean, somebody has a right to
Right.
build an apartment building if they got the right zoning and.
Well, that's what I think
And-
you're asking, aren't you? That could you have in your zoning saying, you know, that,
Well,
I mean, if you can
it's-
if you can regulate it as part of a development, why wouldn't you be able to regulate it as part of the project when it came in? I mean, it sounds kind of
I mean,
discriminatory,
a rule that
but,
says no more apartments,
yeah.
basically,
That's
is
what I'm
what you're saying?
saying. It sounds a little
no
bit
no more
extreme.
apartment buildings?
But you get the plan in for the building, and they don't tell you. Say a developer comes in and says, kind of like how we see spec industrial buildings. Well, we're not really sure who the user's gonna be in here, but here, I'm gonna build a multi-tenant, multi-family building. I don't know if it's gonna be apartments, I don't know if it's gonna be, you know,
Owners or
ownership.
rentals or whatever.
We as a, or can we?
I mean, we would assume that it's gonna be apartments, because if they're not laying it out as a condominium,
Well, if we're not seeing those documents, right, but.
then we will assume it's apartment and treat it accordingly under whatever the ordinances say for apartment buildings.
We actually
I
have
don't-
one coming
I
in that
don't
we're
know
not
that-
sure if it's apartments or if they're, I don't know if you guys have seen the sign on Wayne Road. Yeah. We've talked to them some, we've seen some, but we're not, I mean, have you guys looked at the website? Take a look at their website.
I did, and I
You,
called the agent's
did you
office.
call?
They're extremely sketchy, they're not upfront, they're not straight, they're actually not honest with their information, just saying. But I did call.
Are they apartments or condos, or did they say?
The condos.
They are condos.
Supposedly, and they're supposedly for sale, and they supposedly have on Michigan Ave a model, but they never called me back to give me the address, so.
So
And
I've
I
had
did
phone
talk
calls.
with somebody in City Hall that said that they don't have any kind of approvals, and they were surprised that they're actually advertising already, so.
I do get calls, and people are saying the same thing, they're just not getting a whole lot of information. They were hoping to come and, I said, well, I wish I had a plan to show you.
I'm told that it's a tester. They're trying to see how much interest they can drum up before they make a commitment to try to build.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Good, thank you for checking it out. I figured you would.
Yes.
I
Where's
was
the
going to talk
site?
to you about that.
Already?
Where's the
So,
site?
we're waiting now for a motion.
Yes, we need a motion.
Not everybody wants.
Madam Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval to City Council, TA 2022-001, the zoning ordinance text amendments for multiple family residential.
Support.
A motion from Mr. McAnally, supported by Mr. Boblade, to, excuse me, to recommend to City Council approval of TA 2022-001 zoning ordinance text amendment for multiple family residential. Any discussion? No. Mr. McAnally,
Yes.
Mr. Boblade,
Yes.
Ms. Jemison,
Yes?
Ms. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Goes up the chain. Alrighty, let's just continue. We'll go back now over to Item C under old, what is that under?
New business.
New business. And that's 2021 Planning Commission end-of-year report.
We see this every year, normally in January.
Yeah, I know,
Since
it's
we
kinda
haven't
like the-
met.
Yeah,
This is actually one of the things, back to the redevelopment ready, that you get points when you have this on your website. And they wondered, why is it your 2020? Because we haven't met yet. 2021's not approved.
now this is
so-
for 2021.
This is for 2021, this is last year, right. So probably where you can see everything happening is on the bottom of page 2 with the graphic. You know, we really, since 2014, it's just been up and up and up and up and up. And then, then we had COVID and dipped down, but we're, jumped back up last year, despite that. A lot of it was the reoccupancies. We were very, very strong with reoccupancies last year despite COVID. So, a lot of people moving around and looking for space, and a lot of it was distribution. People, that whole world changing, so,
Yeah.
that was the big,
Half of it was reoccupancy
yep, that's what did it.
and zoning compliance.
Yeah, we did have quite a bit of site plan review, too.
Yes.
Surprisingly enough, it, did a lot of reviews.
Actually, we did more than the year before.
Do you need acknowledgement of this?
Yes, so I think it's on the,
Yeah, it's right here,
last page.
last page.
Basically, you make a motion,
Okay.
to accept it.
So if
And then what we
everyone's
do is we submit
happy
it to
with
the
it?
mayor and city council.
Someone can make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the planning commission report for 2021.
Support.
And
And,
recommend that report be submitted.
the mayor and city council. Please
Right.
send it up the chain.
Okay.
Support.
Mr. Robotnik, you supported it?
Edna.
Oh, Edna supported it, okay. Alrighty. Excuse me, I have a motion from Mr. McIntyre, supported by Mr. Jemison, that we receive this report as of April 18, 2022, and this is, the motion was made by Commissioner McIntyre, supported by Commissioner Jemison, to accept the report as written and recommend that the report be submitted to the mayor and city council. Mr. McIntyre.
Yes.
Mrs. Jemison.
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe.
Yes.
Mr. Frederick.
Yes.
Mr. Boboade.
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Let's just move that baby along. Okay, next item, item D, is election of Planning Commission Secretary, since that spot was vacated by Mr. Paul. Do we have any nominations?
Don't you want to hear your responsibilities?
Yes.
You get to sign the minutes. Mr. Paul did a great job at proofing the minutes. Cheryl does a great job for us, our recording secretary, but occasionally, Kayla's good at catching like a name
Right.
misspelled or adding a name or something, but Mr. Paul didn't catch much because there wasn't much to catch, but we do like you to
Right.
read the minutes as secretary.
And this is for the rest of our fiscal year, that when we will re-elect in June.
Right. Yep, you will have election of the whole group
Madam
in
Chair.
June.
Yes. Do you want to nominate
I'll
somebody?
nominate Ms. Jemison. Would you like to be our secretary? You can do roll call and stuff. It'd be fun.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that task. You get to do roll call.
Proofreading would be great.
You get to move closer to the middle. You get to sit next to Kathy.
I appreciate that, but I have way too much on my plate right now.
Already, thank you. No.
No. Okay, moving down the line.
Mr.
Boboade?
Sure.
There we go.
Alrighty. So we have,
Any other nominations?
any other nominations? Anybody else want to put their hat in the ring? Already.
Does that need support?
I'm good. Okay. Already. Mr. Boboade has accepted the role of secretary. Motion by Mr. McAnally, supported by Mr. Long.
Yes.
Obviously, there's no discussion. Mr. McAnally,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Boboade,
Yes.
Ms. Jamison,
Absolutely.
Ms. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Congratulations, Mr. Boboade.
Thank you so much. Now, do I give a big speech? No?
As the newly appointed secretary, you're responsible for bringing coffee and donuts to the meeting. There you go.
You'll
There you
get
go.
your certificate
Yeah.
and plaque later.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for the nomination.
Yes, thank
and
you
thank
we look
the
forward
vote.
to you working with us. Okay, that, we're done. PC cases involving advice or input from the planning commission.
No,
You sure don't want my advice.
no, not tonight.
Reports on interest designation. Ms. Roscoe, do you have something to report tonight?
I've got a couple things for May. Well, one, I'm going to read off my phone because I didn't have a flyer for it. But on Community Day at the courthouse is coming up in May. On Friday, May 6th, from 12 o'clock to 5 p.m. here at the courthouse on Wayne Road, 11129. And it's open to the public, families and children of all ages from all the communities that are involved in the courthouse. Belleville, Huron Township, Romulus, Sumter, Van Buren Township. And they're going to have public safety demonstrations, tours of the courthouse and other resources, pet adoption, so the Romulus Animal Shelter will be out there, and food trucks, car show. They've got all kinds of things going on that day, so come on out. It's going to be right out here. And again, that is May 6th, a Friday, from 12 to 5 p.m. So that will be a good time to come out and, view the new courthouse we got sitting out here. That's May 6th. The other things that we have going on, Community Shred Day is coming. It's going to be out here in the parking lot at City Hall, 11111 Wayne Road. And this is a drive-through event. You can drive up, and what you can bring is a 2-box limit, like a 15 by 12, like a banker box of articles that need to be shredded, paper, your documents. And also, they're going to have electronics recycling. It doesn't tell you what the limit is on that, but of course, it's just residential type electronics that you can bring. And if you need more information on that, you can call the clerk's office at 734-955-4542. That's May 14th. From 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., so it's only for 3 hours. So bring your items and get them shredded and what have you. Saves a lot of household shredding in front of your little shredder, let me tell you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm constantly shredding things.
Yes, mine usually I have to let it warm, I have to let it cool down.
Oh, I know. I feel your pain there. So, and again, citywide garage sales coming up in May, Thursday, May 19th through Sunday, May 22nd. The rain-out dates are May 26th through the 29th, but clerk office asks you to please pre-register. It's free. There's not a permit for it, but they like to know where it's at. And also, if you want to get your address on the list, it's always helpful because people take that list and drive all over to find their items. But you can send an email to the clerk at clerk@romulusgov.com. You can visit the city's website for more information. And there's always lots of information on the Romulus's city website, and that is www.romulusgov.com. You can find permits there, information, you can find forms there, you find a calendar there for the events that are going on, and different email addresses that you may need. So you can always check that out. But again, citywide garage sale is May 19th through May 22nd, and currently, that is all I have. They're going to have a clean sweep day, May 14th. I'm not sure where they're meeting for that, but you can always call City Hall and find out for sure. And there's some different, you can go on the website and find out some information on the library. Go to the library's website. They have tech time Saturdays from 12 to 1. They've got virtual story time if you're closed in or at home. Wednesdays at 10:30 a.m. and it's Facebook Live. And so if you're closed in, you can't get out, you have little children or something, you can always check that out. We have lots of things going on. And if you, like I said, check out the website and you'd be surprised. Other than that, I think I'm good to go.
Okay, anybody else have any? Mr. Johnson?
I do, thank you. So, one more thing, Hometown Hero this year is a little different. Fire and police are handling their own, and so the city has a new nonprofit called UAB, Unity Ambassadors Building Bridges, who is going to be taking over facilitating that for the residents this year. So it's a little different this year because we've added, I'm part of the UAB, thank you. Anyway, we've added categories that were not previously there because we feel that we need to encompass all of Romulus. So there is a category for children, junior high, high school, elementary, and a category for senior citizens. Those have not been there in the past. We feel that they've been overlooked. So we want to get the word out. They have, I believe the city started advertising last week. However, it did not specify those new categories, so I do believe that there's a follow-up coming out. And they're going to be reaching out to the schools because we definitely need to make sure we encompass all of Romulus. And in the past, I don't think that they've ever considered children. So I think we need to do that and bring them up right and make them feel like they're part of the city so that they stay and become active. So the dates for the nominations, I believe, is due the end of this month. And the Hometown Hero event is going to be May the 26th, and it will be held at the high school in the auditorium. So
Thank you.
please
That's
see
exciting.
this city website for more
Exciting that
details.
They're encompassing all of the whole city, all the kids.
We
and
need
everybody.
to. Everybody gets a share. So we do have business, we do have senior citizens, we do have veterans, and we do have educator. So there's actually 9 categories in all.
Yes,
Thank you.
that's good. Speaking of our reports, annual reports, we neglected to advise Mr. Long that David Paul's designation was transportation. So that would become your transportation, unless some people want to switch around or whatever. Maybe kind of decide if you want to do something else or whatever, and
Yeah,
we can discuss it like next.
What do we have, Adewami?
He's aviation.
Aviation?
Yeah,
That's what I have on this one.
yeah, I could always switch.
You know, we may, you know what, maybe next month when, I'm gonna put this back on the agenda next month when Mr. Krova and
Right.
Mr. Glotfelty are back, they both work at the airport, right?
Yeah.
So maybe they wanna take aviation. I know you'd probably be better at transportation.
Transportation,
I
I
don't
would
know
agree.
what,
Right.
you could probably do anything, so, since you're so worldly in all fields. You've had so much experience with things.
What are you sticking him with?
Anything.
Anything.
You'll do
We'll
well
just find
in
whatever
any of those
categories
categories.
left and put you in. How about that?
You have commerce and
That's mine.
Actually,
Yeah.
I think these are like really broad.
Whatever you fit into it.
Really, yeah, these are really broad. I think we almost need to make up our own.
Let's add
I
this.
think that kind of like fit in those, but more
It's anything
specific to
every
Romulus.
week or whatever, things come up.
Might be a natural resources kind of guy.
There you go.
No, that's Mike Blackout.
Yeah, but you put him into transportation, or aviation.
Yeah, well, we can
We can
discuss
talk
it at our
about
next
it.
meeting.
Let the other members get in and see what they have to say, so.
Do we have, Edna, do we have you in environment? I mean, you've been following some of that stuff, some of the
Recreation.
SUMCOG stuff.
Recreation.
She has recreation.
Oh, you've got recreation.
I'm under recreation.
Oh, that's right, you're recreation.
I don't mind,
And Celeste is
because I,
Government.
Fair enough.
Talk about it next month. Let's do
Yeah, yeah, let's go home. Okay, So, okay, we did that. Communications, we have project status report.
Yes, some
you
of
have-
these projects you're going to be seeing soon, I hope. You've got a couple small ones. Next month, you will be having 2 public hearings. Gateway will be back. They will be ready. We almost had a public hearing this month, and as it turned out, the applicant couldn't make it anyway, so, wow, good thing we didn't get that all.
Are they trying to go back to smaller houses?
They've actually widened the lots out, so it was the area where they were wanting to amend the PDA
Right.
from the duplexes to single-family. They are now widened out to be like the rest of the development, and then they've got the 4, 5, and 6 plexes, and you guys have completed your reviews.
Does that look better,
I
Ms.
think
Jefferson?
there's still
Does
some
that look better?
tweaking, I
Have you
think, to
seen
do, but it's ready for a public hearing, and working with the associations, on some comments with the overall PDA, so it should be ready. And then there's one, it's a small daycare. It's 7 to 12 in a home over on Walnut, but we do have to have a public hearing on that, being that it's a special land use. So some of these others, there's a couple other redevelopments that are getting close. We're having to see site plans a few times these days. And possibly the Romulus Corporate Center, Buildings A, obviously Vistar's there. You approved Building 3, which is now, we call that Scanel. They've picked that one up. That one should be in for engineering soon, so hopefully you'll see construction on that one this summer. But Buildings A and B, which are down on the corner of Vining and Smith, where all the trees are, there'd be 2 buildings that are there. We're under review with them right now.
Right.
Traffic study's still under review, so that could be ready in May. But you're definitely going to be meeting in May, so put it on your calendars.
Already. I got it on my calendar. Any questions on status report? Already.
Gateway didn't say anything about the roads?
What about them?
Those are owned by the city, sorry.
Okay. No, they're horrible.
Oh,
They are, and the city says they have no money to repair them, so they're patching them right
Okay.
now as the patch pops out every day.
I'll talk to the DPW department to see what
Right.
they say. Maybe we'll have somebody come address it.
Moving along, okay. We have a notice from Van Buren Township, a notice of distribution of draft 2022 Sumter Road Corridor Plan. I all had a chance to kind of review that on your own.
It's part of their requirement, we've had to do that too. When
Right,
we're
they have to
working
notify all
on-
the
yeah,
surrounding-
We did that with
Right.
the Vining Road area in the downtown when we updated those. This is just a corridor
Right.
study. If you have any comments, let me know and we'll shoot them over to them. Otherwise,
Now, and I know you're all heartbroken over this one, but next item is adjournment.
So moved.
Support.
Who supported that? I have a motion from Mr. McAnally, supported by Ms. Jamison, to adjourn. Any discussion? Mr. McAnally?
Yes.
Ms. Jamison?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Who did I miss? Mr. Bowade?
Yes.
Did I get you? Mr. Frederick?
Yes.
Chair Pro Chess, we're adjourned.
well, it was nice to see you all. I've missed you.
I need to apologize. I've just been so...